Welcome to today's episode brought to you by Total Processing. We are joined by the highly talented classical music and business professional, Chris OReilly. Chris is the CEO of Presto Music, one of the world's largest classical music, jazz recordings and musical instrument suppliers that started in 1986. Chris has focused much of his attention on the growth of the online business, which began in 2001. Presto Music now accepts payments in 15 currencies and ships to over 200 countries worldwide. Chris has spearheaded the growth of the business to a 25% year-on-year growth. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Harry. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you for coming on board to the podcast. So if you could start from the beginning, how did you become the CEO of Presto Music?
Okay, so short answer would be luck, but let's go back to the start. So I studied music. I learnt the cello when I was a kid,
Nice.
and I decided I wanted to stay in the music world. My parents are both musical, so it seemed obvious for me. I went to University of Music, at University of Birmingham that was.
Nice, yeah.
Went back to London to live at home, wasn't sure what I was going to do. Started a postgrad in musicology at Goldsmiths.
Oh, nice,
And
yeah.
then started freelancing a bit as a conductor, orchestral conductor.
Okay.
I worked in music shops in London. I stewarded at concert halls, just stuff around music really, still trying to work out what I was going to end up doing in life really. And then I got married and we moved to Birmingham where my wife was a violinist and
brilliant.
had quite a lot of work with the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra at the time. So she had a proper job and I was just sort of working in music shops in London. We settled in Birmingham and then I got very lucky because the job came up advertising the Guardian for running a music shop, a CD shop, classical CD shop in Leamington, which was obviously very commutable from Birmingham. So I took that job and that was 2001.
Amazing.
And it was a very different world back then. We just started the website that year.
Okay.
But most of the business was over the counter in the shop. We had a small shop in a back street really in Leamington.
Okay.
It wasn't a great location. But if you're a local and you liked classical music, it's where you went to buy your CDs. And so we did have a loyal following, but the shop was mainly me. There was a lady who worked till 3 and then left to pick up her kids from school. Somebody who worked on Saturdays. And there's 3 or 4 of us really, and that was that was it.
Brilliant. So when you started the job, was that for the online or was that for in-store then?
That was really in store.
Okay.
The business had been bought by a local business of Morris Millward. And he'd made his money in market research. He founded a market research company called Millward Brown, which he'd grown and then finally sold to WPP, the Martin Soros Group. So he made his money there, but he always had this passion, this love of classical music. And when the shop was threatened with closure, it's just like before I joined, his friend said to him, "Morris, you need to buy this shop. We need the music shop in Leamington. You can buy it." And he did. And so, that's what he did. He needed somewhere to buy his CDs. He went to concerts and he believed that for him to enjoy the concert most, he needed to buy some CDs in advance to do his homework for the concert. So he'd use the shop, buy CDs, get to know the music, and then enjoy the concert more as a result. So that was his reason, really. But he was very much the shop. If it can cut even, we're fine. But he saw the future. He saw the online as the future. Even though, of course, we'd had the .com bubble bursting, but just before that, really. So he came along, but was still convinced that online was the way to go. So we started the website. It launched about 3 weeks before I joined in 2001. And I think between August and Christmas, we had 7 orders online. So,
Strong start.
So it was very much the shop was the focus, the high street shop. When I started.
I can imagine, So, and then when did the business decide to really put a lot more focus and effort and attention into the online sector then?
So that was a real gradual process. It was a local friend of Morris's, David Ferrer, who's a clarinetist, again, Music Connection. He started the initial website, just listing products in quite a crude way. There were no pictures. It was just a listing of what's on the recording and buy it.
And how did you build the website? Was that from scratch or did you use a sort of built platform?
Yes, it was all from scratch.
Oh, wow.
I think there were less platforms around back then.
I can imagine,
But David's background was in he's a developer. Basically. So he wrote the website in PHP. And added functionality to it over the years, really, which has got its pros and cons. That's how we went around it back then. But no, it took a few years for us to realise the real potential of the web. So we had 7 orders in the first 4 months.
And how were you generating those customers? Obviously, you had quite a strong local network of customers, but to move online and try and generate sales through, an online web store is quite difficult, especially in 2001, I can imagine.
Yeah, so I think there wasn't much of a strategy, I wouldn't say, other than we approached it from the view of we wanted it to be useful for customers. Yep. So the focus was always on what information do people need to see from the website. So if it's this recording, we needed to say what was good about it, first of all, what was on it and who the musicians were when it was recorded, and then we'd cite awards. So if it won a Penguin Guide Rosette, which is where one of the sort of major classical award accolades, really, then we'd cite that, and so people would know what they were buying. And then everything we did from then on really was trying to get the information as good as possible for customers to use. Now, of course, the knock-on benefit of that is that Google quite like that. And so we started appearing quite high in search engines, in organic search, and it was and still is our main source of new customers.
Oh, wow.
But we don't target like classical CDs because the data is so rich that the searches we come up well up for, or if you search for Beethoven Symphony No. 7, Vienna Philharmonic, 1974.
Okay. It's a very specific.
Yeah, very specific. Which, of course, there's so many of those combinations that people type in.
Yeah.
And we'll tend to focus. We'll tend to do very well on those searches.
Rather than just a classical music search, for example.
Yeah. And so when they come in from one of those, then hopefully we can persuade them to sign up for the newsletter and become a regular customer. Yeah.
And what are I suppose, the key marketing tactics at the moment? I know obviously you're on Facebook and a few of the sort of social sites, but where is the majority of the budget spent when it comes to marketing the online platform at the moment?
So we don't spend very much on marketing at the moment. We'd probably argue that most of what we spend on marketing is just improving the site, improving it for SEO, listing really detailed product listings. We spend a little bit on Google AdWords, Google Shopping. And we do quite a lot on social. We don't see that as marketing, more that's brand building, trying to get people to engage with the brand and see the brand. And I suppose that's a strategy there. Going forward, because we started to think, we've got a new marketing manager last year, a very talented guy, Italian guy, Paolo, who joined us. He's full of ideas and wants to do stuff. So we're actually, at the moment, we're putting in what they call a customer data platform.
Oh, nice.
And the idea being we track and can see all the interactions that people have. And then out of that, we'll be able to personalise more. We're conscious that we have this newsletter that goes out every Friday that does really well. Great newsletter. A lot of people read it and engage in it, and it generates returns. But we're not conscious that some people only buy downloads, or some people only buy DVDs, and some people only buy CDs. Some people buy piano music. Some people like orchestral music. So if we can properly use all that data to then give them things that are likely to be more relevant to them, that should, we hope, increase the amount they spend and their
definitely
loyalty to the brand. So that's what we're sort of working on at the moment from the marketing angle.
Oh, nice. Brilliant.
But there are things we can do in SEO as well, technical things and on-site things and all the other strategies that people use to try and get people in.
Nice. Well, amazing to be selling to over 200 countries without sort of spending huge marketing budgets. So I suppose that's the next question. I know we've spoke about it before, but these people who are finding the business from you said you've got customers over in Israel, the US, Australia, etc. How are they coming across the business then? Is that just through organic sort of keyword research in Google? And
I'd say initially it probably is mainly, or if they come across us through a referral link. So we've got some great partners in the record industry, major labels and independent labels, and often they will direct customers to us for sales. So if you go onto the Deutsche Grammophon website and you wanted to buy a recording, the link would come through to us. So we would get people that way as well. But often it is still SEO. I'd say it's our main source from overseas.
Brilliant.
It's funny how overseas grew, because we started off just sending to the UK.
Yeah.
And didn't really consider overseas as a place. And I don't think we even had a country dropped out. It was just enter your name and postcode, and we'll post it to you. It's simple. And then someone entered an address that was clearly in America, not in the UK. I thought, oh right, okay. Well, we haven't charged enough postage to get it to America, but we'll send it out. Happy, keep customer happy. But that was sort of when it started happening. When people started ordering without realizing that we were only selling to the UK. That's sort of what made.
And you didn't have any restrictions on that. It was just like
no, it was just just give us your address and we'll post it to you. So then we sort of thought, okay, this is a big opportunity. So we sort of started deliberately focusing on those, and we got a few things that help with that. So we detect a customer's IP address when they first hit the site, and then we'll give them the currency that's most appropriate for them. So if you visit the site from America, you'll see all the prices in US dollars straight off. So you'll think, okay, so this is a site for me, and that's one of the advantages of taking all the different currencies we do. It feels at home. For people all over the world,
and then the checkout experience is obviously mapped. So it's like instead of postcode, it's zip code and things like that.
Yeah, we do a little. We probably could do more, to be honest, because there's so many different variants of how you'd expect to see a checkout. In France, they expect to see the sort of the postcode before the town, for example, and
little nuances like that.
There's little nuances that we should probably do a bit more with, if we're honest, to make that feel more comfortable and better for people.
Yeah, definitely.
But it definitely helps. People feel that they're buying from a local company.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about operationally then. You joined the business in 2001. I believe online sales overtook the retail store in around 2006, and now online is over 95% of the business. So obviously during that time, there's going to be so many operational changes, from warehousing, having to move stock around, etc. What would you say the sort of main takeaways, the biggest challenges that you've experienced over the years in terms of that sort of operational sort of efficiency for the business?
Yeah, so we started above the shop. We had a little room above the shop that we would go and pack up a CD in a box, then we walk it around to the post office to put it in. And that worked for the initial 7 orders in 2001. And then, so every few years we needed to change premises, really. And so we moved to a bigger shop that had more space upstairs.
Okay,
and that was really because we had more online orders that we needed to process. So then we started appointing people who would come in and work purely on the online picking and packing stock. We built all the tech behind it in terms of the shipping software. We gradually, everything was really gradual over our growth, and step by step. So for a start, we print out the address and stick it on an envelope, and that would be it. And then we built, this isn't really efficient enough. So we built some a bespoke sort of software, really, to be able to scan the barcode of the CD, and it would say, yep, that's the one needed for this order. So that's obviously that minimises the things going to the wrong address, for example. Press a button, that would print the label. And everything was. So gradually we improved the processes as we went through, moving warehouses. And now we've got a separate warehouse, sort of 10-minute drive from the shop, in order just to be more efficient as we went.
As you've grown, I suppose you've needed that, haven't you?
Yeah.
And have you ever thought about outsourcing the warehousing and the logistics and fulfillment side of things? Has that been a consideration for the business, or?
Yeah, it has been. We've thought about it and rejected it on a few occasions. Some of our suppliers are often off to drop ship stuff for us. So the customer orders from us, and then the supplier drop ships it. And that could be a solution, but we're concerned. There's a number of reasons why we've been against that. One is that people often order more than one thing at a time, and it may be 2 things from 2 different suppliers. So then you'll talk about 2 different boxes rather than coming as one delivery, which is a challenge and not ideal from the customer. The bigger thing, I suppose, is lack of control over the service and the quality of the packaging. And what we hate is when a customer rings up and says, I've got these, my order arrived, but the CD's cracked or the corner is bent. Because then we can look at that and say, well, why was that happen? What happened? Who packed it? What packaging did it go in? What did we get wrong with that? And we can improve it. And I'm conscious that if you outsource that to somebody else, you lose control over those little details that are actually really important, because people want it to arrive in brilliant condition. They want it, we always think, would you be happy to receive it like this as a customer? And if the answer is no, then don't send it out, or pack it differently so that it will arrive the way you want it. So that was one thing, really, the control over the quality. The other thing, I suppose, that really worried us was the fact that we'd sort of be putting our eggs in a basket of somebody else. And if that company had problems, whether they be financial or logistical, then there's nothing we could do about that. We'd be completely stuffed, basically. We wanted, maybe it's a bit of a control freakness, I don't know, but we wanted to keep control over those, what we think are really important things, which
100%.
is the speed of delivery, the quality of delivery. And if someone rings up at 2:00 and says, look, I've got a problem, I've got a funeral tomorrow and I need this music, can you get it out on FedEx now so it arrives with me by 9:00 tomorrow morning? If we control that, we can say, we can do that. Mm-hmm. We can even get in the car actually and drive it out to you. So only 10 miles away, we can do that. If the stock is all stored in the logistics company somewhere else,
the challenges you face there.
So we've taken that view so far. Now that works fine for the UK and it's worked fine internationally so far. There are sort of, I'd say, reasons to start rethinking about that, particularly on the international business. A few of those are the speed of delivery. Obviously, shipping stuff across the world takes longer than theoretically shipping it locally, although not always. We've got a lot of customers in Australia who say they get stuff quicker from us than they do from another Australian retailer.
Wow.
So things are quite quick. And to be fair, our post gets collected by Royal Mail every day. It goes down to Heathrow, it gets put on a plane that night. It doesn't get sorted. We bag it up. This bag's going to Australia. So it goes straight to Australia. It's on a plane to Sydney Airport, 6 hours after we packed it up. You think, well, that's pretty quick, actually. And it's flying to Sydney rather than to Melbourne or to Adelaide if it's going to an address in Sydney. So, so international post can be quite quick. Although the last 18 months with COVID has been problems with that. There's been less, because I didn't realise until COVID, actually, the amount of post that travels in the bellies of passenger planes. Because so the passenger planes are out the sky. There's no planes to carry the post. So you either have to get separate planes to take the post over, or pay a lot more for it. So we've seen a lot of increase in costs.
Oh, really? And then I take it Brexit, has that had a big impact on the business?
Brexit has had an impact on the business, both getting stock in and getting stock out. And the knock-on effect of the EU with the tax, sales taxes and potential duties, which is a real hard, difficult area to get your head around and understand. 100%. If we sell a saxophone to somebody in France, what taxes and duties are actually payable on that? And you try and get an answer from that. It's really tough. And you think, okay, does it depend on whether it was made in France, the UK or Japan? It probably does actually. Does it depend if it's more than 150 euros or under? It probably does actually. And so you've got so many factors coming in that, shipping internationally now, I think is harder than it is, more complicated than it has been. So there could be, reasons to start up maybe a few warehouses, a European warehouse or a US warehouse in time.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. But equally, our business has become more digital over the years as well. So we do a lot of downloads. In the US, for example, we sell a lot more downloads than we do CDs. So in a sense, and downloads, the great thing about selling a digital product is because you can be based anywhere.
No delivery.
No delivery at all. No, other than through the cloud.
Well, that's it.
So so in that sense, if the business moves more digital, then maybe we don't need the warehouse. But I guess that's the recording side, and the printed music we do a lot of, and the instruments and accessories, which is a big growth area for us going forward. That's very logistical.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the retail store, then obviously that was the foundation of the business, and you've moved very much online now. Is there plans to grow the retail division, or is there plans on expanding the retail sort of empire within Presto Music, or is it just primarily focused on the online sector for the foreseeable?
So I suppose we've seen over the years that quite a lot of people with mixed premises starting to close their retail stores and concentrate on the online, which is definitely where the main growth potential is. We've always resisted that. Which I think has proved right so far, and I hope will prove right in the future as well. We're conscious that a lot of instrument manufacturers, for example, will only allow you to sell online if you have a store as well. So there's reasons to keep a store, just for being able to offer product range. And for us, being able to pick stock from the store to send it out that day gives us more available in stock to pick from, which is good. But I see I've grown up with music shops. When I was a kid, I'd go and browse in CD shops in HMV's classical department in Oxford Street for my CDs, and I think there's something hugely valuable about a local store and people being able to have somewhere local to buy their whether it be CDs or instruments, and get advice on things. And of course, that's why Morris bought the business in the first place, because he wanted it. So we really value the store, and actually we want to do more with the store. We feel a real responsibility provides towards, I suppose, encouraging all our local people to spend more time with music.
Yeah.
They can, whether it's be buying CDs to listen to it, or buying print music to play it, or buying instruments to play it, or books to read about it. But just engaging with music, we think is a great thing. We think it enriches everyone's lives, whether you like classical music, jazz music, or any kind of music really. And so we see the shop as being a real important part of that. So we want to do more at the moment. We're looking at moving the shop at the moment and expanding what we offer, whether that be lessons or classes or live streams of album launches and all sorts of stuff really. But just doing more really.
Brilliant.
Give more experiences.
Well, that's I know we were talking about before the community and the experiential aspect, and I suppose you see it in a lot of brands that have began online and direct to consumer, and they've done these mini pop-up shops across the UK, and they've proved really successful because it's that touch point with your customer, I suppose. So in terms of then the retail, going back to that initial question, then you mentioned that looking at new potential premises for the shop. Would you ever consider expanding on those premises in terms of in other locations across the UK and overseas, or whether it's just we'll have that one foundational retail store and then just focus on online as well, and that'll be the two elements? Well,
we'd love to expand. Mm-hmm. First thing is to get a model working, I'd say, in Leamington. Leamington's a good town. It's a relatively well-off town, and it's a good demographic around us, I suppose, and a good area to buy from us. But there are a lot of towns like that around the country and the world. If we can get a model that works in terms of giving the experience, giving maybe if it's the lessons or the classes or the concerts, and the web can benefit from that, which I think it could do if we get it right. It could be whether if someone's interested in a digital piano, then we could use someone in store to demonstrate it, make a private video to send to that person about the piano, which they can then watch and then buy online. Mm-hmm. So you can see how they could really join up and work well. And if we can make it work, then I'm completely up for
rolling that model
out.
But I suppose it's making sure, testing that it works at scale and can be rolled out across different places then, I suppose. Yeah,
it is. And it's a difficult one because I kind of think that a town Leamington size is a good size. Mm-hmm. London's probably too big. Because if you're not in the middle of it, then you're not near any of the people who would come to it. If you're in a suburb, then there's maybe a different kind of demographic that you ideally want. So actually the big towns are probably the best place where there is probably a closer sense of community, but also a big enough
audience and customer base.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. Brilliant. And you mentioned it there, obviously customer-based demographics. As we were speaking, previous to this, you mentioned a lot of your customers are at the slightly higher end of the sort of age spectrum. What are you trying to do in terms of a business to obviously target those customers, but also bring in a sort of new generation of sort of classical music enthusiasts?
So we sell the music. We focus on the music. Mm-hmm. And if a new recording comes along, we say, this is a great recording of this work, and we're going to write reviews and explain why it's such a good thing, why people should hear it, what the artist is trying to communicate, whether we think they've been successful or not at communicating it. So we give the real background, and then we don't mind whether the person buys a CD or a download, or in the future maybe a stream. But our focus is the music, and so then it's facilitating whichever method people want to use to listen to it. And conscious that our customers at the moment, we do sell a lot of downloads, I say particularly in the US, but a lot of our customers buy CDs, and that's fine. They've got their system set up at home. They've got the CD player, the amplifier, the nice pair of speakers, and you can, they listen to it, and it's just great, But a lot of young people don't, and you don't get CD players by default in cars anymore. Laptops don't have CD players anymore. So the next generation, I suppose, are more into digital music. And obviously this has happened in other genres already, really, where CDs are quite rare in pop and other genres, but classical, they're still really important. So we're sort of following that curve and making the music available digitally.
Okay.
We hope that there's different trends in music. It's quite interesting to follow. Like in classical, it's very much album-based product and a work, and you sit down, you experience, and you listen to it.
Okay.
And you come, and there's the younger people typically might prefer more of a track-based approach with the shorter excerpts, and you work off a playlist and you have it on the background. That's probably not really what we offer, or where we offer our specialism for that. You know, if you want to have some classical music to study to, there's great playlists on other services already. So we can't really help with that, but we can help with why you should spend some time listening to this and how it would enrich your life and how it's going to move you. It might move you to tears. It might make you create an emotional reaction if you invest the time in it. So we're trying to get that angle through. How we do that, I say, is probably moving the digital angle, I guess.
And I take it that's probably one of the biggest challenges that you face as a business, obviously, sort of moving the business from here to here, from CDs to digital, and the generation of people you're trying to target as well. Yeah,
I think it is. Now, we're helped massively by a lot of the record labels, which are really proactive in promoting young talent. And there's loads of young musicians coming through now who are really creative in what they record and how they record it, and often they're producing a video alongside it, or there's a cellist, I think an Austrian-Iranian cellist, Kian Sultani, who's just made a disc of solo cello music, multi-tracked over. So he's playing 32 or so, 64 different parts at the same time. He's using percussion on his instrument, and he's doing film soundtracks. So you can hear Pirates of the Caribbean played on over one guy on 32 variants of a cello. So with tapping the rhythms on the side of the cello and playing a harmony. Really quality music making from a great artist, but in a way that's he's young, and it obviously appeals to him, and it will appeal to people like him. So you can see record labels are really helping, I think, promote classical music to a younger audience by sort of taking these slightly different approaches to a traditional way.
Brilliant, love that. And I suppose that sort of leads on to the next question in terms of challenges. I know we spoke about sort of targeting different generations, but over your years you've experienced I presume a number of different changes, from the retail to the online store. What would you say the biggest challenges of running a business like this have been over the years?
For me, the biggest challenge has been working out how to step back and persuade myself to step back. Because when I started, say, there's 3 or 4 of us in the shops that I do everything. I see the reps who are selling the CDs. I say, well, 5 of that, 10 of that. I price them, put them out in the shop, and serve the customers. And obviously, as we've grown, I've got to let things go. And I've been quite rubbish at letting things go. Been tempted from a bit of a control freakness, I don't know, but wanted to hold on to too much. So it's been, but the business has grown best when we've brought people in who are specialists in their areas. So we recruited a chief operations officer who worked at Universal in EMI, and so his background was working for bigger companies and getting the processes and the structures and things really organised so they work, and that's not my strength at all. So getting him in to do that has really helped us. That's Graham Southern's the person there. We've had a guy, I used to do all the ordering and set up all the promotions, which is fine, I could do that. I haven't got time to do that, and there's people who are better at doing that than me. And so, we've got a guy called Matt Groom who looks after that now, who worked on the record label distributor side before, so he understands it from a different angle, I suppose, which means he's better at it than me, basically. My biggest challenge has really been working out how to take myself out of all the day-to-day things. Still really interested in them and helping people with them, but trying to spend my time concentrating on the stuff which is 6 months or more ahead. Thinking, what do we need to do now to prepare for 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years ahead.
I suppose that's been tough over the last 2 years with Brexit and COVID.
It has, but I'm really lucky that the team we've got, I say, we've got so many talented people, the editors who write, or Dave Batterby, who runs our warehouse, has been with us for 10 years. And he's got such a good team around him as well, of people, assistants and people in senior positions there, that runs like clockwork, with Graham overseeing it as well. And I don't have to worry about that at all, which is good, really. And I can think about what's coming next, and what we should be working on, and investigating new ideas, new technologies, talking to publishers, talking to record labels, and thinking about what to do.
Nice, brilliant. And how many people are you now? Is it close to 50, is it?
That's right. I think we're 48 at the last count. We're split across, but we've got 5, all our IT is in-house. We've got a team of 5.5, I think it is, working on IT.
5.5?
So,
half a week.
He half his time he's working IT, the other half he's repairing woodwind instruments for us.
Oh, nice.
So he's a real talent.
Brilliant.
Another really talented person who works for us. Fixing clarinets and saxophones that people bring in, repadding them and stuff.
Brilliant.
So,
nice. And then in terms of talent, obviously we spoke about you moving away from certain parts of the business and bringing people on who are better at you at certain things, which is great. But how hard is it to find talent in quite a specific niche? Obviously, classical music is, even though it's a big sector of the music industry, it is difficult, I presume, to find talent who are not only interested in that sector, but are also good at, the specific skill sets that you're looking for within the business.
So, I suppose it is in a way. I mean, most of our staff, certainly all the editorial staff, have got a real interest in classical music. Most of them actually still perform as well.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
they've got our head of editorial for classical is a singer.
Yeah.
We have we've got two guys in the jazz department. One of them makes records as well. But often it's quite hard as a performer to make a full-time living out of being a performer.
Yeah.
It's just a challenge. There's not enough work.
Imagine,
Lots of really talented. However talented you are,
Yeah.
there's lots of other talented people as well.
Yeah.
So making a full-time career out of just performing is really hard. Most of it, we've got, our head of sheet music is a conductor who conducts local opera group and choral and orchestral stuff as well. We've got our head of digital, which isn't really a classical role specifically, but he heads up all the digital stuff, and he also writes articles on classical music, and he interviews artists, and he sings in cathedrals and cathedral choirs. So And I think that interest for them actually works quite well.
Yeah.
It's basically what I did as well. I was interested in classical music. I didn't know what job I was going to do.
Yeah.
But I was interested in classical music. I just sort of fell into a job that was around music.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably how they came along as well. They sort of thought, first of all, nice job in classical music. And this actually works really well. We're really flexible. You know, if they need to go away to do a concert for a weekend, fine, you know, make up the time or have some holiday.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
You know, we're really flexible with them, which they appreciate. But it works for us, you know.
And there's a lot of talent out there that there's the interest crossed with the skills. I take it. That's what I was.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, because often those skills are writing about and just how to engage enthusiasm in customers. I suppose.
Because that's what you want, I suppose, within your business. Like you say, if you're trying to give back to the customer, you want someone who knows or has a decent level of knowledge of classical music and the services you provide and the instruments, etc., to offer to the customer. So I take it it's just balancing the two, isn't it? Really,
it is. Yeah, it is. But even now, think about it. You know, several of our warehouse team have got a real interest in music. We've got a double bass player, horn player. We've got plenty of people who collect recordings and buy records, and you see them. And you know, when I pop down to the warehouse, you see them looking at studying the back of the album. Well, that's great. They've got such interest, but come on, we're a bit behind it. Yeah. But no, it's really good. People seem to want to be involved with the business, which is promoting music.
Yeah, definitely. So. And have you ever had any thoughts about expanding from, I know obviously you do jazz recordings and you do obviously musical instruments. Have you ever thought about diversifying and opening the market to, you know, other genres of music as well? Has that been a consideration for the business?
Yeah, it has. And we talked a lot about classical music, which is most of what we do. And when we started off selling on the domain prestoclassical.co.uk. That was our website, and the shop was called Presto Classical. And in a way, that niche of being a classical music shop was great and helped. Probably one of the things that helped us grow, to be fair, because people knew, okay, I'm going to a specialist here, this is good. But as you can imagine, that means you can't really do anything else effectively. You can't be a great jazz shop if you're selling under prestoclassical.co.uk. So over the years, we moved away both from the classical and from the .co.uk, and now it's prestomusic.com. Which took a few years in the planning, but strategically being able to sell a wider range of music and being on a .com, an international domain rather than the UK one, felt like the right decision. But it took a while of planning to get there. Jazz we only started doing in 2016, I think it was. We've always had some jazz recordings in the shop, but online we added it in 2016, and that was when we felt we could make more of it, and we could get some. We've got two jazz specialists now who work on that, and they write about it, they curate it, they make sure there's an artist page for each major artist. They work with the labels to find out what the new recordings that they should be featuring. They listen to them. So I suppose any genre where we can add value is of interest to us. And we can do that. We obviously did that in classical. We can do that in jazz. And we could probably do it in other niche genres, world or maybe folk or those areas. Of course, everything starts blurring as well once you get... Classical's fairly distinct. Once you move from jazz and blues and then you move on to world and folk, and it does overlap quite a lot. So where to draw the line is tricky. But in terms of other genres, going back to the original question, if we can add value, we can do it. We probably can't add value selling Ed Sheeran. So we're not really going to go down that route. I mean, theoretically, we could add value selling some vinyl element of that, because vinyl needs to arrive really well packaged, and we're really good at packaging stuff up and sending it quickly around the world. And so we could add a little bit of value there, but it's not really where we want to be.
I suppose it's also like you've got a defined sort of niche within the market, and you don't want to open it up too wide, really, because then you lose what you are about, don't you, to some degree.
But it is a balance, getting that the right thing between the niche and the scalability, because if the niche is too distinct, there's not enough people to go after. So.
But I mean, classical music, it's even though it's a niche, it's still widely listened to, isn't it? It
is, especially on a global basis. I think if we were limited to the UK, we'd struggle with a classical niche because it's not that big.
But where are the biggest countries then in terms of classical music listening? Then where do you find that they particularly lie?
Well, I'd say there's a lot of listening in Europe. Traditionally, Europe's a very big classical music area, and actually we're quite small in Europe. Mainly because of the language element. All our site is in English. So for us, the US is a big market for us. So it's UK, US. And we do well in Australia as well for the language. But in terms of classical music generally, Europe's probably the global centre. When you think about the great, the Beta, Mozart, the composers that anybody would name are probably European. Obviously, there's plenty of composers now from all over the world. But historically... His roots to Central Europe.
Nice, brilliant. So where do you want the business to go in the next 5 years, and what are your sort of growth plans to get there, really?
So we've got some new things we're working on. So we're working on, so I sort of hinted earlier, we're working on a streaming service at the moment.
Okay, brilliant.
A subscription streaming service that caters for classical music fans particularly, but also also do jazz and other things. Classical's got challenges in terms of how the metadata is organised, because there's composers and there's works which you don't have in pop and other genres. And so the way you organise that on your player to give people the information they need is difficult, to be honest. And there's not a good... Most classical fans would say it's not a good experience listening to classical music on Spotify or Apple or any of the major streaming platforms. So we can offer something really unique there.
Nice.
We've built an app already, which people use to listen to stuff they've already bought. So if you buy a CD or download from us, then you can listen to it. You can stream it through the app, which is great for us. It enabled us to build the technology, test the technology, test the back, how it scales, how the servers can deliver that content, the cost of delivering it, how we can report it. So we've essentially built most of the infrastructure for a streaming service already. So the next step will be licensing it to stream, which should be a monthly subscription. Brilliant. For all access.
How does out of curiosity, how does the licensing work then from obviously you to the actual owner of that music or that piece of music?
It's really complicated.
I can imagine.
It's actually a bit of a nightmare. It's one reason almost not to do it. So to license something, you need to pay the label who recorded it, but you also need to pay the what they call the songwriter, the creator, which should be the composer. Now often that's owned by a different person, and it's a different collecting society who's collecting that, and that varies by country.
Oh wow.
So we need licenses with all the record labels, but also all the collecting societies all around the world.
Wow. So it's quite a complex.
It's really complex.
Almost a reason then, like you say, not to do it.
It's a bit scary. And it's unfortunate, but I don't think it's unlikely we'll be able to launch one service globally at a time because of the complexities of licensing. So we'll be able to launch hopefully a service for UK, US, Europe, and maybe some of the big markets. But to get, to offer a streaming service to customers in Brazil, we would need to have a deal with the Brazilian Collecting Society.
Oh, really?
And it's just not worth our time or their time making a deal for classical music fans in Brazil who want to subscribe to our service. Hopefully in time we'll be able to sort of
break down the markets,
grow that.
and
but that's what other people do as well. Apple and Spotify launched in a few markets and then expanded over the time. And it was the licensing, which is why they had to do that, why they couldn't just launch everywhere at once.
Brilliant.
So it has got its challenges.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it's an exciting chapter in the growth of Presto Music, though.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's definitely where, as you can see from the pop side, it's where the listening to recordings is going. So we need to be in that space.
Yeah.
And there will be people who are waiting. They email and tell us when you're launching a streaming service. So we know there's people waiting for it.
Yeah, the demand there.
The demand is there, even for classical. We're not going to switch anything. We'll keep selling CDs and downloads as well. But yes, that's quite exciting. We're also looking at a few other areas, I suppose, which could be interesting. Digital sheet music is something that is very much a market in infancy. So we sell scores of music, which are great, and people need them obviously to play from, and that is starting to move on to a digital journey, I suppose, that whole industry where you can, rather than waiting for it to be sent to you, you can access it on an iPad.
Right, okay. So you could have that in front of you on the piano and almost like flip page rather than
pages. And you can get Bluetooth pedals. There are some things in the market already. So to turn the page, you just tap your foot on the pedal and that will turn the page. Which you think, that's quite good actually. But make it work really well, where you can also then write in a articulation, bowing if you're a string player, or dynamic if you're a pianist, or ring a bit you want to practice. You need to build that into it as well. So we want to be part of. That's really in its infancy, that market, I'd say. But we want to be sort of one of the people who leads.
The pioneers and the forefront of that.
And especially with the experience we've got from the recording side of how to deliver on demand, essentially content to people to work on whatever device they're on.
Brilliant. And in terms of instruments then as well, like musical instruments, what proportion of sales is that for the business then?
So we're for the shop. It's probably about instrument and accessories together. It's probably about 40 to 50%.
Okay.
So it's massive for the shop. And of course, there's sometimes that's a digital, £3,000 or £4,000 digital piano. Sometimes it's a packet of guitar strings. So it's a whole variety of things in there. We only launched instrument accessories online last year.
Okay.
Essentially listing them. There's a massive amount of work to do to offer something comparable to the recording side and the sheet music side, where we have the richness of data and the reviews, and we can make videos to explain instruments, and so people will come to us for that information. It's a lot of work to do that, and that is something that we will do. And
expand on in the future as well.
Yeah, definitely. Big star.
Nice. And I suppose that leads us sort of final few questions in terms of where we've talked about where you want to go with the business, and you've talked about the new subscription and streaming platform, which is great. Where is the end goal for you and the business? Where do you see the business getting to and going to, and what does the sort of end goal look like for you, I suppose?
I say the end goal is it sounds a bit we want more people to spend more time with music. We generally do, because most of us who work here are passionate about music and think it plays a great part in people's lives, from kids right through to adults, and kids particularly. All the research that talks about how learning an instrument when you're young and playing in a school orchestra when you're young improves all sorts of other skills, social skills, cognitive skills, all sorts of problem solving, all sorts of stuff is benefiting from music. So we want music to play a bigger part in people's lives. So realistically, we need to grow as a business in order to reach more people, to make music more important. So that's ultimately the goal we're working towards. No plans to sell, no plans really to even make lots of money. As long as we can impact more people, that's the plan. And that means growing, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it sounds a bit vague, doesn't it?
Yeah,
really?
But it's it's getting classical music, sort of growing the genre and what you're doing as well, and getting that in front of more customers, more people. I suppose sort of then the final question comes on the back of that, in terms of trying to get classical in front of more younger people. Do you have plans and any strategies behind that? Is there any sort of partnerships you're putting in place with these colleges, these schools, these universities to try and encourage classical music and the sort of adoption of classical music as such?
I think there should be.
Yeah.
There's not yet. We haven't. I don't think we've quite got to that stage. But yeah, I think partnerships with people, whether they be schools and colleges or professional orchestras or anyone involved with music. So there are lots of people fighting this corner to make music more important. So yeah, partnerships is definitely the way to go. And it doesn't have classical is obviously what we've done so far. But and that's where I suppose we offer the most value and specialism because of what we've done. But at the end of the day, we just want people engaged in music. We don't really care what kind of music it is. And I think, and increasingly young people also don't see the distinction between genres in a way that maybe some of our older customers do. And young people just want to listen to music. And that might be a classical track, or it might be a pop track, or it might be something else. And I think that's great that those sort of distinctions are breaking down. And we don't want, classical music to be elitist or the privilege of a few. We want it to be available to everybody. But our main priority, I suppose, is just getting people engaged with music.
Yeah, and started on that journey.
We started on that journey. I feel like we've got a long way to go. We've come a long way in 20 years, to be fair. But yeah, it just feels like we're only starting on the big journey.
So, but an amazing journey so far anyway. So,
very much so.
Brilliant. Well, really good to have you on today. Absolutely brilliant what you've done with the business, and I can see it going even further in the right direction anyway. So great to have you on, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Harry.
Cheers.